Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Whole Wellness Mama Summit, where we are unlocking the healthiest, less stressed mom in you using strategies from various wellness experts. I'm your host, Amy Nesbitt, and I am thrilled to be speaking with Whitney Oberbroeckling today about the habits of supermoms, including setting boundaries. She is passionate about helping moms who want fulfilling careers or side hustles or passion projects while also wanting to feel present and connected to their families. She believes that moms can have an extraordinary home, an extraordinary career, and be extraordinarily happy at the same time. Lori wrote Secrets of Supermom, How Extraordinary Moms Succeed at Work and Home, and How You Can Too, to share tips, strategies, and quick wins for moms that want it all. And don't we all? Lori is right? Lori is a wife and mom of four, all while working as a leader in a corporate America and nurturing several side hustles. She has a bachelor's degree in psychology with graduate training in marriage and family therapy and counseling. She helps moms who want it all develop the skills, habits, and confidence to happily have it all. And as a fellow working mom that battles mom guilt, I say, yes, please, I can always use more tips toward being a super mom. Can you tell I was an overachiever? Welcome, Lori.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. That was great. I appreciate the welcome.
Some are meeting you for the first time, and I'd love for you to share your story of how you came to where you are now.
Sure. So, well, as you said, I am a mom of four. My oldest is 13. My youngest just turned 7. And so I have a crazy, busy, crowded house. I'm also a wife. And then, like you said, I'm a full-time corporate leader. And in 2020 and into 2021, I wrote Secrets of Supermom, my book. And that came out of the pandemic, really. It was a pandemic baby, I call it. And from that turned a podcast and a group membership and all sorts of really awesome programs that we use to serve moms who are busy and overwhelmed and they want all the things, but they don't know how to get it. So really, it's teaching moms how to do it all without actually doing it all.
That sounds like a dream, and let's dive in, right? Because just like you mentioned, we all strive to be super moms, but we don't know how to start or don't even think of ourselves as super moms, right? So I've heard you say that there's no mom that is failing. And I think that's so important to start there, because we just don't hear that enough. We can be negative on ourselves. And so can we quickly encourage all the moms out there that feel like they aren't doing enough? And maybe you can even share the most common hardships that you have heard from other moms.
Yeah. So I know that we do feel like we're failing, right? Because we feel like if we put effort towards our job or volunteer project or our passion project, that we've taken away time from our family. Or if we put extra time toward our family, those other things start to falter, right? And we never feel like we can get that balance right. And so I want you to know that you are not failing. You are not failing. You are just a work in progress, right? We are all trying to figure out what is the right feel so that I feel balanced. Because I say that balance is a feeling. I also say that being a supermom is a feeling, right? Supermom is not a person. We're not aspiring to be this person here. We're aspiring to feel like supermom. So we want to feel like we get to choose where we put our energy, where we put our time, where we put our passions, where we put all of those things, and that choice allows us to feel that balance, that feeling of supermom. And so those of us that are not feeling that yet, note, I said yet, those of us that are not feeling it yet are really trying to figure it out, right? We're trying to see what does feel good and what doesn't feel good. And when we figure out what doesn't feel good, know how to set the boundaries so we don't have to do that anymore, right? And I know we're going to keep talking about boundaries today, but it really is, we feel like we're not doing all the things because we don't need to be doing all the things, right? We shouldn't be doing all the things. We should be doing all the most important things. We should be doing all the things that are most important to us. And for each of us, that's going to be different. So you can't say, Amy, I want to be just like you and do all the things that she does because it's not going to feel right. Or Lori, I want to be just like you because if you do my life the way I do my life, it's not going to feel right. We have to figure out what is really right for us. And sometimes that takes some trial and error going, ooh, I don't like it when I work 14-hour days, right? Ooh, I don't like it when when I can't hit project milestones. Ooh, I don't like it when I don't see my children for days on end. You're right. Unless the whole purpose is that you are, unless your job requires that and you love your job and that's what works.
Or you're going on a mom retreat or something.
Yeah. Or you're at a mom retreat. I mean, heck yeah. Right.
Yeah,
Yes. Check mom retreat.
that's right.
Yes,
Self-care.
exactly. So I think it really is about that trial and error and really figuring out what works for you and then feeling really good about it and not guilty about what works for you. When you figure that out, so often we go, well, I know this works, but like, should I be doing that? Am I allowed to? Am I allowed to take that time off work? Am I allowed to spend that extra time with my kids? Am I allowed to not want to spend time with my kids so that I can work on a special project? We have to be able to say that, yes, this is right for me. And because I know it's right for me, that's going to make me feel like the best mom ever. And so I get to show up in all the areas of my life that much better.
That resonated with me so much because when you were saying we show up in different ways, right? I don't know how many times my husband or friends have said, I don't know how you do all these things on top of your work. And then you're doing all these creative things, because I too had some pandemic babies that are special projects. But it's just a creative outlet, and it is something that brings me joy. And for others, it wouldn't. And it just would not be something people should do. So I love that you brought that up. But you also brought up something that is near and dear to my heart, which is the mom guilt, right? Especially for, I think, the fellow working moms, at least that is where I'm coming from. But it is huge, where we feel like we aren't doing enough in our jobs, yet we aren't doing enough with our partners or kids at home. So for the moms out there that are feeling extremely overwhelmed and just don't know where to start, what would you say to them?
Yeah. Well, first of all, you are doing just fine, right? You're doing just fine. And I think that so much of the guilt comes from not going within and going outside. So we're constantly looking at what other moms are doing and thinking, I should be like that. So because I'm not, I should feel guilty. I should be like that mom. And because I'm not, I should feel guilty, right?
Mhm.
So for example, as working moms, we absolutely will spend less hours with our children than stay-at-home moms, right? Just in the math of time, we will spend less hours. But does that mean that our hours are less valuable? Does that mean our hours are less worthy? Does that mean that those hours can't be really, really important, even if they're shorter? And so really being able to go within and saying, what is right for me? What does feel right for me? What does feel like balance and like joy and like that bubbly excitement, right? I want you to feel that with your family and at work and in your volunteer projects and doing whatever it is that you're doing. I want you to feel like that all the time so that everything brings you that level of next level, right? That feeling of good. And so when you feel that way, you will show up so much better in all the other areas, right? You'll show up in all those other areas. But if we're constantly battling the mom guilt, we can't get past it. We can't get to that really excited, amazing, bubbly feeling. We can't get to that super present, I am loving this moment feeling, because we just get lost in our own world of mom guilt. And it's not even important, right? And sometimes it's not even real. Like other moms are looking at you thinking she's got the best life. And then you're looking at someone else and going, she's got the best life.
Absolutely.
And instead being able to just really go within and saying, what is really right? What feels really good for me? And if I'm really far from that, how can I start to make the baby steps to make it happen and get closer to it? And if you're really close to it, what else can I do to get closer so that I don't have to be fighting this all the time? Because when you practice that, the guilt doesn't go away. The guilt's not gone, right? The guilt. So like, I'm not completely free of guilt. I wish that I were, but I'm not. And I don't believe it ever goes away. But I do believe that it comes up less often and that you start to be able to coach yourself back out of it and say, is this real? Like the fact that that mom made homemade breakfast with her children every day this week because she stays home with them and it's summertime, like, do you feel guilty that you're not doing that? Or really, is that not even in your wheelhouse? Really, is that not even in your desire house? Really, is that not even something that would be, but if you made that change, would all the other changes required to make that happen be worth it in your life? And for me, the answer is absolutely not. They wouldn't be. So I'm able to start to have those conversations with myself and get out of that and say, okay, this isn't really something that I want. So I don't have to feel guilty or jealous or angry or any of the other emotions that start to come up.
Yeah. I don't know how many conversations I've had with friends, dear friends that are stay-at-home moms, and they're like, oh my gosh, it's crazy. Like go crazy at home and I just can't go anywhere else, right? Because who's going to care for the kids? So I think it's always the grass is greener,
Grass
right?
always is greener. It's always greener.
Yeah.
But like when you switch over, you realize that the one thing might be better, but there's 10 other things that you hate, right? Like there's 10 other things that you're like, man, my life was awesome. And so really just being able to, that going within, asking yourself those questions, being able to just like look at the things that really you do love and what you wouldn't be willing to give up, because any change is possible, but it does mean giving up some other things. And for sometimes from some of us, those things are worth it, right? Like maybe your goal's been to stay at home for years and finally you're there financially, or finally you're there physically, or finally you're there, right, in some like time level, and you get to do that. Like that's worth it. That change, that loss of that job was worth it because that was the goal. But sometimes we want that feeling, but we don't actually want to leave, right? We actually love our job, or we actually love the people we work with, or we have these other things that it wouldn't be worth it to lose. And so I think that the guilt is all those other things coming on top of us, not really coming inside and saying, this is truly what I want.
Yeah. No, I love that. Love that. So let's start diving into boundaries because it's huge. And I think we as moms have a hard time saying no to things or figuring out what those boundaries should be. So, can we talk about how should we start thinking about setting our boundaries?
Yeah, I think first, of course, we have to know what we want, things that are really truly important to us, right? So we have to know what those priorities are. Everything can't be important. It can't be, every request that comes to us, work, home, or otherwise, can't be super important to us. And if we really went within, we would know that they weren't, right? We would know that there are certain things that matter to us more. But the other part of it is that always yesing, right? We want to please people. We want to serve people, right? So many of us, we want to make other people happy, right? But we also have a level of joy that comes from serving. We do like to do things for other people, help someone else, help another team at work, help someone like rise up a level at work, help your children learn a new skill, help your kids like do something really fun or get to go on a really fun adventure, right? We love to do all these things, but we can't do them all. And we know that. And if we constantly say yes to all the things that we're asked to do from the outside, we find that our schedule, like if I look at my calendar and go, yes, that spot is open, so it's a yes. Yes, that spot is open, so it's a yes. Yes, I'm sure I can find time and get rid of some sleep in my schedule, so it's a yes. If I start to do that, I will get to a point where every minute of my schedule is scheduled and I might be able to do it all, but none of it's for me. And when it starts to feel like that, because it will start to feel out of your control, right? Even though you said the yes, when it's for someone else always, you'll start to feel that level of out of control. And the level of out of control is when we start to feel that burnout, that overwhelm, that stress, and that like, I don't want to do anything, even the fun stuff. I don't want to do the things I don't want to do. And I don't want to do the things I even did want to do because it's too much now and I've lost it. And so the goal is to find where those boundaries are before we get to that point, right? Before we've said over yesed ourselves and pleased everyone else and taken ourselves out of the equation.
Yeah.
So boundaries for me have always been really hard because I don't like to say no, right? I don't want to say no. So mine are more levels of no. Right? So at one point I said, wow, you have yesed so many times that now you actually have to just say no to everything, and not no, not just no, but never an immediate yes. So if you think of, okay, I'm over yesing, my schedule's booked, crazy solid, I am completely overwhelmed. That first boundary is nothing's an automatic yes. So it doesn't mean you have to say no right away. It doesn't mean you can't come up with a better way of saying no, or maybe later, or could we talk about that next month? Or I would love to, how can we change the dynamics so that I can do this and someone else can do another project I'm working on? How can I, right? So we start to ask ourselves these questions. And if we're never immediate yesing, if the boundary is just that one thing, I never say yes right away. That's my boundary, right? Then I'm able to say, now I'm able to take the strategic yeses and the strategic nos. And so for me, that's what I had to do, because otherwise I just wanted to say yes all the time. I just wanted to be like, I can do that. Look, yes, my calendar's open. Let's sign me up for the bake sale. Sign me up for volunteering, to watch kids go down the jumpy slide. Sign me up for, right? Like sign me up for everything. And so it really does have to be that all or nothing with me sometimes. And I found that to be true with so many moms, that we feel like in the moment, we just want to say yes. We just want to say, like, scrap all the boundaries that we were just talking about and go for it. And instead, if the boundary is just the one thing, the boundary is just, I never say an immediate yes, then you can say, let me check my calendar. You can say, oh, I'm not sure that I'm available, but let me check and I'll get back to you. Oh, I'm not sure that I have the capacity to do that, but I would love to check and see. Oh, I'm not sure. Oh, maybe we can go to the movies this weekend. Little children that want to do all the things all the time, right? And so just being able, yeah, especially in the summer. So I just think that if you can do the one boundary, then you start to figure out where those other boundaries are. You start to fine tune the boundaries, right? You start to go, oh, I really do hate to volunteer at the school. I need to set a boundary there, right? I don't hate to volunteer at the school, but if I did,
if you were,
yes. But you start, like, they start to become more clear. Oh, I really don't love to plan parties for the work team, right? Or schedule their trips, or, right, I don't love to do some of these things, and these extra things I might tend to just take on because I do it. And so you start to realize, oh, I don't miss that at all. Oh, I didn't love that. Or, oh, I'm so relieved to have said no to that. And when we start to get to that, then it starts to make those boundaries easier and easier and easier. And we get to a point where we really feel good about them.
So many things that I want to touch on, because I know I like to look at my calendar, and when it is packed with meetings or kid things or whatever else, the day hasn't even come, and yet you get overwhelmed, right? And then you just go, I just want to sit here. I just need a moment. And so being able to proactively take care of that and manage that, I think is huge. And I love that you say we're not saying yes to anything right away, and being able to think about it. I am also well, I can do it. I'm actually good at that. And then I do it, right? Like, oh, I can do that better than my husband, or I can do that better than whomever, right? And
I'm faster.
Really fast.
I'm probably really fast at that. But guess what's faster? Guess what's faster than you being fast at that task? You not doing it at all. That is what's absolutely faster. Right? Someone else doing that task saves you all of that time. Absolutely. So yes, 100%.
And maybe we'll get into delegation. Maybe I'm jumping the gun. But in order to stay sane and be able to do all the things, I've had to juggle around this whole asking other people to do things, right? Whether it is asking my husband to cook a dinner, or my kids to do some things on their own and teaching them how to do that, or Instacart, right? Like, pandemic really, really helped in that regard, because we just started and then realized this is really easy. We're just going to use it a lot more, and save time. But there's so many things that can save us time. And I've also learned that I've had to bite my tongue, right? In those things that I think potentially I can do either better or faster, or I know how to do it already. I've had to bite my tongue and let people do it on their own time, in their own way. Is this something that you've heard a lot from other moms?
Yeah. So in the book, the very first 4 chapters are the key secrets. So basically the top things, right? And asking for help, the secret of help, is one of those. We talk about outsourcing and delegating and asking for help in general, but it's the most important because it's so often the hardest for those of us that are struggling. And it's always used. Every supermom that feels totally balanced most of the time feels like she does it all, even though she doesn't, right? All of those women are asking for help. They're either outsourcing things, or they're delegating things. They're using the teams that they have at work. If they have a team, they're using them well, right? They're allowing themselves to become a well-oiled machine at work. They're allowing themselves to become a well-oiled machine at home, teaching skills that kids didn't have before, getting spouse on board, right? They're using all these skill sets because they can't do it all by themselves. They can't do it all, and they can't do it all by themselves. And there are things that you love to do, and then things you don't, right? So I like to meal plan and I like to cook dinner, not because I like to cook. I don't actually like to cook that much, but I do like to choose what I'm eating, right? Like I like to be the one that gets to choose the food for the week. So I like to do that. But guess what I don't like doing? I don't like grocery shopping at all. And for years, I was the one that grocery shopped. Well, suddenly we have a conversation with my husband. He's like, well, I can grocery shop. Like it's the same stuff, right? Like you make a list and I pick up the stuff. I make this, like, do the thing. He started doing the grocery pickup, started doing all the like purchasing. All you guys, this saved me hours a week, and the food is just there ready for me to cook. And I know that's an easy example, but it's one of those things. It's a small thing that doesn't actually need to be done by you, can be done by someone else in your family, or of course, like a TaskRabbit or a teenager in the like neighborhood, right? Or delivery person, like all the things. We have so many options for things that we can do to get the help that we need, that it was silly that it was me, right? It didn't need to be me. There are so many things that don't need to be you, even if they're things that absolutely still have to get done, right? The family does have to eat food, but it doesn't have to be me that makes that happen. Whether I do the planning or not, whether I do the shopping or not, whether I do the cooking or not, whether I do the food pickup or dash, order or whatever I do, it doesn't have to be me. And there are just so many things in our lives that is true for, but we don't believe so. Or we have, like you said, I have to let go of some of these perfections, right? We think the towels can only be in the closet if they're folded 100% perfectly. Well, guess what? If there are clean towels in the closet, win for everyone. We've got clean towels. Awesome. Good. We're good to go. The kids' clothes must be in the drawer a certain way, folded perfectly. No, that's not true. If they have clean clothes, again, a win for everyone, even if they're all thrown in there, all cattywampus, and they're wrinkled every day. No big deal, right? So there are lots of things that we can let go and let them do and let them help us. And not talking your spouse, though your spouse may need some skill sets to build also, but it lets us build those skill sets with our kids as they grow and can do more things. They can become self-sufficient. They can become part of that family team. And it helps them feel like a necessary part of the team. It helps them feel like they can do things on their own. And that is beneficial to so many things as they grow. Like I couldn't even tell you all of them. So I think that it's a win, win, win if you can let go a little bit and realize that this is the best way.
I feel that so deeply. It's another thing out of the pandemic, which was really, really hard, right? But there were so many things that they had to learn to do for themselves because we just couldn't do it all, right? And I think that was a fantastic thing. They made their own food. They like started doing all sorts of things for themselves because we were on meetings, like we were home, but we were on meetings.
Yeah.
So I think those are just great skills. But it did, like I mentioned before, the perfectionism I had to let go. And that's a big thing for people, right? Of the doing it in their way and perfectionist. And I know you have other characteristics that you often see that people have to let go, perfection being one of them. Can you talk about some of the other things that moms
Yes,
have to let go?
absolutely. So certainly we have perfection, right? Like, and that is needing it to be so perfect that we're just spending extra time on it, or we're not letting other people help us because they can't do it the way we would do it. And there are probably a small number of things that if you really said, what is the absolute most important thing to me, that you would hang on to? And there are probably a lot of things that you're perfectionist about that maybe aren't really a huge thing in the long run, or something you maybe wouldn't even think about 5 days from now or 5 weeks from now or 5 years from now. So really kind of thinking about those things. Of course, we have people pleasing, which makes us over yes and lose our boundaries and all of those things. But one thing that you mentioned that really ties into this is procrastination. There's kind of the 3 Ps, right? So procrastination is putting things off, but so often this is so common for overwhelmed moms because they do what you just said. They look at their list and there's so many things on it that it seems impossible. And instead of going, okay, I have 122 things on my list today. What could I start with? Like, where could I start? Could I start small, right? Could I start incredibly small? Could I do a piece of something? Instead of just going, I'll start, right? And now I have much better plan. I have much better ideas for you to do all the planning and all the things and not be doing that ever at all. But let's say you're there, right? Which is where most of us are. You start there. And instead of just saying, I'm going to tick away at something, you go, I'm not doing it. I'm too overwhelmed. I have to just give it up all, right? And then you end up doing nothing. And then the next day you feel guilty and more behind than you were before. And this is wildly common, so common that you get overwhelmed and then you don't do anything, because you're either spinning and don't know where to start, or it's so overwhelming you can't bear the thought of starting. So those things just become these ugly cycles, right? Because you're overwhelmed and you have too many things to do. And instead of figuring out how to get some of those off your list, or digging into some of the list, if you can't get some of it gone, you do nothing. And then you start to feel worse. And then you feel worse, and you feel worse. And then it's just this cycle of disastrous overwhelm. And you never feel good about the things you're getting done because it never feels like enough.
And you also don't show up very well, right? Because I know I'm very short with my kids when they throw me off 5 minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
It is, right?
Yeah. You're the yeller, or you're the passive aggressive one, right? We all have our different ways of showing the yucky of how we feel. So you're the one that's giving the silent treatment, or you're yelling at them, or you're doing one of those yucky things. And that's not how you want to show up. We know it isn't. It's how none of us want to show up, but it's how it comes out in us when we're in that super short amount of time, overwhelmed situation. That's just how we show up. And then again, what happens? We feel guilty. We feel terrible. We don't want to act that way. And so it's just, like I said, an ugly cycle that continues if we don't figure out where we can stop it.
So setting those boundaries ahead of time. Everyone, don't say yes to everything just because we should, or just because we could doesn't mean we should.
Yes. Yes. 100%.
Trying to find the rhyming one there. Just because we can doesn't rhyme it. Anyway.
Yes. Because we could doesn't mean we should.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know if you can pick either your favorite mom superpower or perhaps your most important habit or superpower. Can you share that with us?
Yes. So my favorite habit is weekly planning. Every Sunday morning, I plan out my week, and I take my to-do list. So I have a master to-do list. I take all of my personal activities that we keep in a digital calendar. I take all of my business activities that we keep in a digital calendar, and I pull all of it together into a paper planner, because for me, writing the things down and really feeling it is how I best plan. So you can do this in a number of ways if you're a digital lover, but that's how I do it. And I put it all down. I look at those to-dos and see, what can I do this week? What can I not do this week? And I do all the meal planning for my entire week. And so I sit down. That takes 20 to 30 minutes, depending on how many activities we have coming up for that week. And that single habit has taken away daily overwhelm, has taken away conflicts in the calendar, where all of a sudden you go, shoot, she's got a dentist appointment, he has an orthodontist appointment, and they're like 40 minutes away from each other, and they have to be there like within 10 minutes of each other, right? So it takes away all of those conflicts. It lets me know where I need help, where I need to cancel, where I need to move things, where I might need the kids to know, hey, you're going to be in charge of pulling some dinner things together tonight, right? You're going to be in charge of starting taco night. Like, lets me talk to my husband and say, where are we sharing, splitting? How are we working this week? It just allows all those things to happen so much more beautifully than they ever did in the past. And so I would never, ever give up my weekly planning. That's my favorite habit. I have morning routine habits and so many other habits, but that is my absolute favorite one.
Yeah, no, I resonate with that dearly. We do like a Sunday planning. And so as a family, and one of those things is meal planning, and it gets the kids on board too. So I'm not getting the, oh, what are we eating tonight? Just go check the calendar.
Yeah.
Or
we planned it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can't say I don't like it because you were in on it too. And it just gets rid of all sorts of different conflict, like you were saying. And we know what is going on in the week. Everybody says, the things that they know of. And we have it all in one place. So I agree. It's fabulous. I love it. I know we like to leave our mamas with a quick action or challenge for the day so that they can start implementing things right away and see changes. And they can come back, ask questions, or let us know how it went. Can you share your challenge for our mamas?
Yes. So my challenge is to the next time somebody asks you to do something, because they will, right? Someone's going to come to you. Maybe they've already come to you while you're literally sitting right here right now, is to don't say yes right away. Now, I'm not telling you you have to say no, but don't say yes to the next thing that you were asked to do. Don't say yes right away. Let it sit for a minute. Decide if it really is a yes. Now, maybe someone called to interview you for like the Today Show, and then like make that a yes. Like, let's do this. But most likely, you were asked to do something that is maybe not so exciting. And so don't say yes right away, and then see how that feels. And we want to know, how does it feel? How did it sit? Did it feel terrible? Did it make you super uncomfortable? Did you feel like, oh my goodness, I could do this more? How did you feel?
Yeah. If you won the lottery, say yes.
Yes. So yes, I mean, Publishers Clearinghouse is at your door, then yes, let them in. Let's do that. But otherwise, most of your tasks probably are going to be, just a decide.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I know you have a fabulous freebie for everyone. Can you share what that is and how people can connect with you further?
Yes, sure. So we have a Master Your Time toolkit. I love all things planning, all things productivity. I love all things, right? And so I love weekly planning, and all of those things are in there. So if you are just not sure what you're doing with your time, there's a time tracker. If you are trying to build those new habits, there's a habit tracker. If you are trying to put weekly planning in place, there's a weekly planner. All the things are in that toolkit. So I love it because it's got all the pieces to put together the things that I think are so important and that really help me in my life, help lots of moms that I've interviewed and surveyed and talked to. And so I love to share that. So I'm excited to share that. And then, yes, where to connect further is secretsofsupermom.com is the best place. That's where you can find the book and the podcast and all of my social media. Everything is there. And I would love for you to come follow along.
That's perfect. That is an amazing freebie because it meets each person where they are, right? Whether you need the habit tracker, whether you need just to plan, whether you need it all. It's all in one place.
That's the instruction. Like, okay, you want all this? You're like feeling very disastrous. Okay, print the whole thing out, do the whole thing. But it walks you through, do I need this? Do I already know this part? Do I want to try to put this habit into place? So just follow the instructions and you'll just be good to go.
That's fantastic. Everybody go grab it. Anything else you would like to share and leave with our mamas before we wrap up?
No, I think this was so great. I love talking all things boundaries, planning, all things, because I want you to feel like supermom every day. My goal is that I can help you feel like supermom. And if I can do that, then I'm doing everything I want to do in the world.
Yeah. And moms, we all do so much. I hope you do all feel like supermoms, even if you feel like failing. If you feel like you're failing, you are not. I hope you got that out of this. Well, thank you, Lori, so much for helping us feel less alone and on our way to being and feeling like supermoms. Everyone, like I said, go grab that awesome freebie, connect with her, and be sure to come back for more amazing summit speakers.